Hey guys, Casual Cutter here, and today I'm going to do a late to the party knife review on this knife here, which is the GiantMouse GM5. It was brought to my attention on Facebook earlier today that there are no reviews for this knife, despite the fact that it's been out for probably about 6 months. I went on YouTube to double check, and sure enough, I was only able to find 2 reviews. One was a first impression unboxing video, and the other was in another language, something other than English. So it turns out, yeah, for a knife that's been out about, I would say, almost 6 months or about 6 months, there's no video reviews on YouTube. I have a written review on this knife that's been out for a while on my Facebook page, but I figured since there's some demand and no supply, I'd make a quick little video review. Now this is a, I guess you can call it an in-depth or a long-term test review, because I've had this for about 4 months. And I've carried it a bunch of times, I've used it, haven't used it for anything other than EDC, everyday cutting tasks, but it has been used, has not been abused. But let's go over my impressions, my thoughts, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and take a closer look at it. Okay, so let's get into some specs on this knife. Per GiantMouse's website, you have a blade length of 3.3125 inches, so a little over 3 1/3 inches from the outwardmost portion of the handle scale to the tip. They're calling this a high saber grind. So you can see it's got a nice swedge at the top, and it's got a little bit of flat here. Thickness overall of the blade is 0.157 or 4 millimeters. So it's got some beef to it. It's not super thin, but it is pretty thin behind the edge. It's a really good slicer. I used it numerous times for cutting straps, twine, rope, cutting open big bags of dog food. It slices. It's a slicing knife for a knife that's not necessarily super thin behind the edge. It's got some excellent jimping on the blade as well for forward jimping, I guess you can call it, which is indicative of a lot of the GiantMouse and also Vox designs, which is really usable. Scales are made out of titanium. You have blue accents on the pivot collars here, both sides, blue backspacer and blue pocket clip. There's also a GM5 version, P standing for pirate, which is limited to only 100 pieces. That has a black washed finish with bronze accents. That model was sold out almost immediately as soon as these dropped, but there are still a few of the GM5 versions that you see here available on GiantMouse's website. So titanium, LMAX steel, what they're calling a high saber grind. Nice opening hole. It's really usable. It's placed well. Deployment is nice and easy. You can also spidey flick it with some practice. Not everyone's good at spidey flicking, as you can see. So that works. No issues with functionality. The one thing I really can say that I wasn't a huge fan of out of the box was the lock bar tension. It was a little stiff, but after a little while carrying, it broke in and it's perfectly fine now. You can see lockup is early at about 30%, so no issues there. Blade centering, pretty close to dead even depending on how I look at it. I'd call that even, okay? So let's get into what I like about the knife, what I don't like about the knife, and what my overall consensus is after 4 months of ownership, use, and carry. This knife appealed to me right off the bat because it caught my eye. Aesthetics. Aesthetics is purely subjective, right? So not every knife is going to look good to everybody, but I liked the way this knife looked. I liked the milling pattern, these waves you can see, which in combination with the curvature of the scales kind of gives you this multi-plane illusion to the knife, if you can see that. So I love that, love the accents, love the overall blade shape, handle shape. I'm a fan, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you can tell I'm a fan of Vox Design and Anzo as well, so no surprise that I liked the way that the knife looked. The knife rides on bearings. Not sure if you'll be able to see. Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to see because it's full of pocket lint, chances are. But yeah, it's on bearings. So, I mean, overall, love the way the knife looks. Love the way it performs after 4 months of carry and use. The only thing that I personally did not like about this when I got it was that lock bar tension, but it's worked itself out completely. It's got a relatively large over travel stop. I'm sorry, not over travel stop. Lock bar insert, which you won't be able to see. You might be able to see. It's in there. Anyway, good to go on that. I keep flipping this because I want you to see what the action is like. Flips open with ease. I wouldn't say it's drop shut, but with a gentle shake, it'll shut. Again, that's not indicative of a knife's quality based on how it shuts. I know some people will beg to differ, but it has nothing to do with how good a knife is. Out of a dozen or two knives that I own, one of them drops shut on its own accord. So that's a little inside thing that came up in a knife group today. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, I wrote a written review on this knife. I'll highlight a couple things from that review. Let's start with ergonomics. So the ergonomics on the GM5 are good. There's no discernible hot spots whatsoever. This clip has a relatively low profile, and because of where it sits in my size large glove hands, it fits right in the in between the swell of my thumb. So it's perfect. No discernible hot spots whatsoever. The knife comes in right hand tip up only configuration. This can be, obviously a huge downside for lefties, but what it gives you is a perfectly clean show side of the scale. There's no holes, top or bottom, and also on the lock side, there's no holes up top. So, I mean, right hand tip up only is what it is. Let's see. So ergos are good. Ergos are good. Action is good. When this knife first dropped, there were a handful of complaints about soft detent. You can see on this one I have. Locks in. Detent is good. This blade's not going anywhere, and it deploys positively with a push of the thumb. So nothing wrong with that right there. Good detent on mine. I believe it was only a small handful that had complaints of soft detent, and they were all taken care of. So we're good there. Like I said, the knife just feels good. I can't say there's anything wrong with ergonomics at all. So if you're worried about that and you have a size large hand, That's all I can compare it to. I mean, it feels good. You can see the top of the blade is rounded on the spine. That's something you see on a lot of the GM knives, along with the forward jimping. Pretty much every surface on the knife is chamfered and smooth. You can see around the lanyard hole, and this is a cool lanyard hole. It's integrated into the side of the backspacer. It's got some jimping on there as well. See the pocket clips nicely machined. Single screw. Got the GiantMouse logo there. There is some internal milling on the lock bar. And the blade on this knife is completely sterile. There's no markings indicating a brand or steel type. I'm pretty sure though that that's listed on the inside of the scale. I'd have to double check. Yeah, it is. So if you look on the inside of the scale there, you might be able to see there's the GiantMouse logo, Vox, Anso, made in Italy, and I think LMAX might be listed somewhere, but I can't see it. Anyway, also the knives are numbered on the inside of the backspacer. Mine's number 254. So for a quick review overall, I mean, after 4 months, I like the knife. If I didn't like the knife, I wouldn't still have it. It's classy, it looks good, it's smooth, it's refined, it works well, and in my book, it's a winner. I don't keep knives that I don't like, so this one passes that test. If you want a more in-depth narrative, go check me out on Facebook. I'm there at The Casual Cutter. Also on Instagram at The Casual Cutter. I'm doing a giveaway right now for a custom pilar that I modified and is signed by Vox himself. Check that out. That's probably going to be running until tomorrow for my 1,000 follower giveaway. But if you have any specific questions on this knife, feel free to comment below. I'm here to answer any questions you have. And yeah, I hope you got something out of this short little video. And my thoughts on this knife after having it for a while. This was a spur of the moment thing based on a Facebook comment. So there you go, guys. Late to the party, but hopefully it's still worth something. Catch you on the next one.